And good morning, this is Mike Lodge, or evening, or afternoon, or midnight, or whenever you're listening to me. So today's Wednesday, and the reason why I know it's Wednesday is because in Los Angeles, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's when they clean the street. So most of us park on the street. So on a Wednesday, I have to go and find a parking spot on the Thursday side. And then on Thursday, I have to move it back over onto the Wednesday side. So that's how I always know that it's Wednesday, because I'm going to have to move my stupid car. So that is life when you live in the city where there are no parking spots in houses anymore, or driveways. You have to park on the street. So Wednesdays and Thursdays are the days that we move our car. Yesterday, speaking of streets, I decided I would walk to the grocery store. And, walking in Los Angeles is dangerous. Not because just of the people, but because of the sidewalks themselves. Every sidewalk here, unless you're in Beverly Hills or an upper scale neighborhood, the sidewalks are so dangerous to people that you see people falling all the time. Now, yesterday I was walking, and what do you think happens? My foot hits a sidewalk that was sticking up, and I went flying. Now, if you've ever seen Seinfeld and Elaine Bennett when she dances, I think that's pretty much how I look just before I fall, because I tell you, it's like in slow motion, but you're really going fast, but it's in slow motion, and plop, you're on the ground. Well, now I've done this several times since I've lived in Los Angeles, because the sidewalks, I should say, are so bad. It's safer to walk on the streets than it is on the sidewalks. So many people fall because they are uneven in so many different spots as you're walking along. And in fact, there's been some people who have sued the city because it's so uneven. So I went flying yesterday, and I fell on my left side, and I am sore this morning. I am in pain because I landed on my ribs, my left side of my body. My glasses went flying, and I went down. And I laid there for like 1 second, and I thought, no, I don't want anybody to see that I fell. So I quickly tried to stand up, but I couldn't quickly do it because my legs were in shock. So luckily I was able to find the wall, and I pulled myself up on the wall. But I tell you, Los Angeles has such poor, the never fixed sidewalks. And you've got places where the tree roots have pushed the sidewalks completely up into the air. And so you've got to walk around them. And we've had so many earthquakes here in Los Angeles that it's taken some of these sidewalks and push them slightly taller than the other one that's in front of it or in back of it. And my feet, I've fallen so many times since I've been here in California. Now, I've been here, January, February, March, April, May, June now, 6 months, almost 6 months, and I have fallen 5 times now. 5 times because of the sidewalks. And it's not a nice fall. No, it is a full fall. And my glasses go flying almost every single time. I'm surprised my glasses are still even intact. But I tell you, Los Angeles needs to do something. That they're getting all this tax money, and yet they can't repair any of the stuff that's going bad. So Los Angeles, you need to do something, because you're going to get a lot more lawsuits if you don't start fixing these sidewalks. So this morning I am in pain. The whole left side of my body hurts, and I am in pain. So if I wince as I'm doing this podcast, I apologize. But if I turn just a little bit, it hurts. The other day, I was listening to the news. I don't watch it. I listen on my cell phone. I listened to the news, and Donald Trump said something. There was a question asked him, I should say. Will you be vindictive? Will you go after your enemies? And his answer was no. Which is a good answer. And I'm going to hold him to that. Even though I feel as though that the government has come after him so much that maybe he needs to be a little vindictive. But maybe vindictive is not a good thing. I'll tell you a good story. I have been blessed with really cool clients throughout my years. One of my clients, I've told this story before, so if I'm repeating myself, it's because I'm old. We repeat stories. But this is a good story with a moral. Several years ago, I was representing Manny Pacquiao on tax issues. And I was approached by Zinzi Mandela, was because she's now passed away. But she was representing her father and the Nelson Mandela Foundation of trying to put together a boxing match between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao in celebration of her father's 92nd birthday. You probably don't know this, but Nelson Mandela was a fighter when he was younger. He was a boxer when he was younger. He loved boxing. He would stay up into the late hours of the morning just to listen or watch the boxing matches. He just really loved it. So she wanted to put together a boxing match between Floyd and Manny for her father's 92nd birthday in South Africa. So she approached me because she knew I was the accountant or the tax guy for Manny. And she said, "Can you give me an introduction to Manny?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." And then we went on and we put some meetings together in Vegas between ourselves and the promoter of the boxing match for Manny Pacquiao, and then also she met with Floyd Mayweather. In the evening, we would sit around and we would talk. And she became a very, very good friend of mine. She always used to call me a brother from another mother, I mean. And we would have some really good talks. And one night we were talking about the experience of when Nelson Mandela had been in prison for 24 years. And he was being released. Now, during the time that he was in jail, in prison, she was his spokesperson. She went out and gave speeches, and she fought against apartheid, and she did everything for her father. Her father was what she was working for, and also for the release. When he was finally released after 24 years, he and Zinzi sat down one day, and Zinzi said, "Let's go on, let's continue the fight, let's go on and improve our cause." And Nelson said, "Zinzi, no, let's not do that. Let's create peace. Let's become friends with our former enemies, because we have a lot of work to do, and that's how we're going to do it." So instead of being vindictive, he remained calm, and he created a friendship between these leaders that had locked him up. Doing that, he became president of South Africa. He was loved by his people. Even his enemies loved him. They would work with him. They would talk with him. They would give him advice, and he would give them his advice. But he made his enemies his friends. And he had peace. The country had peace. And the country grew. And the country had all these freedoms that they never had before. And they were able to make South Africa a great country. And apartheid was done. It was gone. It was dead. Instead of being vindictive as president, he could have gotten his justices and all of his attorneys and everything to go after these people, but he didn't. He lived up to his word to his daughter and said, no, we're not going to be vindictive. We're not going to be angry. We are going to change the country by my change and forgiving these people and moving on. Now, if Donald Trump takes that same position, I have a feeling that he will be even more loved than before. Hated by his enemies, because America holds a grudge for a long time. American politicians are probably the most corrupt people in this world. But if Donald Trump lives up to his word and says, no, I'm not going to be vindictive against my enemy, I'm going to focus on the American people and what the American dream is and what America is all about for its people. If he does that, he probably will even become even more popular and more loved than Reagan was. You know, I do mediation. And a lot of these people that come into the mediation come in with, I'm going to get that person. I'm going to get my way. Prior to mediation, I always sit down with the clients coming before me, and I try to give them some guidance on not being vindictive, not being hurt, not being angry, not be unforgiving to the people that you're going to talk to, because the more angrier you are, the attitude shows through, and it makes it even harder to resolve problems. So the point is, vindictiveness doesn't always work. In fact, it very seldom works. When you come to the table with a plan, and if you have a good argument for that plan, you will have success. The same thing as president. If you come to the table with the American people, and if you have a plan for the future for this country, to resolve the issues of the past, to resolve the nonsense that has been committed by politicians, if you can approach the table and approach the negotiations with a plan, and not vindictiveness, but with a plan that makes sense, you will accomplish a lot of things. It's on the other side a lot of times where the politicians are so angry they can never forgive, they can never move on, they can never think about what is good for the nation. Instead, it's what their political desires are, their political agendas, and their political hate. Because let me tell you, politics has a lot of hate in it. So if you as a president who will not be vindictive, and sit down at the table and negotiate and talk and get things done for the American people, you will go down in history. And in our everyday lives, the same principle applies too. Always forgive, always move on. Because you can accomplish so much more. So as I sit here today, because I'm not going to work today, I'm going to really rest. As I sit here in pain, I'm not going to live up to my lecture that I just gave, because now I'm mad. I'm pissed off at the sidewalks here in Los Angeles. And I may even mosey on over to my computer and maybe write a couple of letters. Because something needs to get done. But I'm going to do it politely. I'm going to do it professionally. I'm going to do it the Nelson Mandela way. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. God bless. Take care. I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.